So, yes, I'm going to speak about defining the One Health approach, because we've heard a lot about One Health in various different fora, but it means different things to different people. I'm going to talk about the measures that the agency is taking to promote responsible use in the area of veterinary medicine, and about the need and the measures that we're doing to ensure alignment between the measures taken with respect to human antimicrobials and veterinary antimicrobials. So the One Health, and there are many different definitions of One Health, but I've taken one here from the American Veterinary Medical Association that I think brings together the main features that one needs to consider when talking about One Health, and that it is the collaborative effort of multiple disciplines. In this case, we're largely talking about human and veterinary medicine, but we have to talk to environmental areas, anyone involved in the issue around antimicrobial resistance, and that coordination needs to occur locally, nationally, regionally, and globally. And the objective there is to attain optimal health for people, animals, and the environment. And I hope you'll be able to see how those overriding principles have directed the focus of the work that we do here. So I think we've heard several times today how any use of antimicrobial agents has the potential to select for resistant organisms, and how prudent use needs to be the key directive that is followed in terms of controlling the use of medicines, be they in animals or humans. And the agency, being responsible for both human and veterinary medicines, is well placed to adopt that approach. I think the other thing I would say is that we have certain areas of competence where we can take direct action, and you've just heard from Radu on some of those. But as exemplified by the meeting today, we also very much work through fostering cooperation with other stakeholders, because particularly in the area of antimicrobials, responsibility is often shared. So I think whilst adopting a One Health approach, it is essential to recognize the specificities of each sector. And I think that is, again, emerging from many of the discussions today. What I observe as someone more familiar with the veterinary area is the fundamental difference in the benefit-risk assessment that relates to the use of antimicrobials in man and in animals. Whereas in humans, the essential driver is to ensure the survival of the individual. For the use of antimicrobials in veterinary medicine, and particularly in food-producing species, the use of antimicrobials is part of a business process for the production of food in a cost-effective and sustainable way. When one considers the use of antimicrobials in companion animals, the situation becomes a little more complex, and the CVMP has just recently published a reflection paper on that particular topic. So what are the activities that we do in relation to antimicrobials? So we produce guidance on authorization and use. We assist the Commission by providing opinions that allow authorization of antimicrobials and subsequent maintenance. And as Radu has just said on the human side, and it's the same on the veterinary side, we will review the authorizations for authorized antimicrobials so that they can be amended and updated. We provide opinions and advice to the European Commission on any aspect of use. And we here at the agency run the European Surveillance of Veterinary Antimicrobials project. And in relation to that, I think this is an important project that has been running from the agency, where we look at the patterns of use of veterinary antimicrobials in member states using a methodology that allows the figures to be normalized for the weight of animals essentially at risk of treatment in each member state. And this allows for the generation of qualitative data that can then be used for establishment of policies based on facts, and then the subsequent monitoring of those policies to ensure the effectiveness of those policies in terms of actually promoting prudent use in practice. What about the important factors related to the veterinary use of antimicrobials? Well, I think one of the important things is the fact that similar classes of antimicrobials, not exactly the same, but largely overlapping classes and agents for antimicrobials are used in man and animals. Attention in the veterinary area has particularly focused on those antimicrobials which have been classified by WHO as critically important for use in man. And CVMP has, in line with that, produced a number of reflection papers on fluoroquinolones, third and fourth generation cephalosporins, and the other groups listed here. And I think one of the important factors when looking at the control measures related to animals is to recall that healthy animals make safe food. Therefore, whilst one wants to control the risk of spread of antimicrobial resistance to man, it's also equally essential to retain a therapeutic arsenal of antimicrobials for use in animals to ensure that food production can remain safe. So those are the actions, the outputs, shall we say, but what are the actual outcomes? Well, we've made several recommendations for authorization and use and made, as a result of referrals, the summaries of products of characteristics for antimicrobials and the authorization of conditions of use of several groups of fluoroquinolones and fourth generation cephalosporins have been amended, as have other antimicrobials when referred by individual member states. And these are particularly in terms of ensuring that prudent use statements are included within the authorized conditions of use for certain veterinary antimicrobials where that is considered appropriate. And I think when we look at the outcomes of the publication of ESVAC data, we're just starting to now gather a sufficient time period of measuring the same data to be able to compare use over several years. And the early indications are that there is now a general overall trend for a reduction in use in nearly all of the countries where we've measured it on several occasions. And we hope that that trend will continue. And I think the transparency in terms of use that has been given by ESVAC has undoubtedly stimulated some of the actions that have taken place at national level. So in terms of coordinating between use of antimicrobials in the human and the veterinary section, we have started to provide advice to the European Commission as part of the action plan that Andre and John Ryan spoke about, that the Commission has for controlling antibiotic resistance. We've given advice on use of antibiotics, colistin and tigecycline, the former of which is used in veterinary medicine and has been for a considerable period of time. The latter one isn't used. We will be giving advice over the next 18 months on whether and if it is useful to classify antimicrobials in terms of, say, first and second line, or critically important for use in human medicine, or otherwise, how that might be applied in the veterinary field and what implications that might have on the use of particular antimicrobials. We will be providing advice on authorization of new antimicrobials and their potential either to improve the situation with regard to animal health whilst not deteriorating the situation with human health, and also giving advice on the need or otherwise for additional or alternative controls on the use of currently authorized antimicrobials. The group that's providing this advice is a cross-agency group and involves input from the other EU agencies, ECDC and EFSA. We will be seeking the views of stakeholders on the use of antimicrobials to ensure that the advice that we give is practical and relevant. And I think one of the key issues that we hope will arise from this will be to start to give some information and some answers about the extent to which the use of antimicrobials in veterinary medicines actually has the potential to impact on human health. I think we hear several times that the majority of weight of antimicrobials used globally goes for use in animals. But I think that can mislead people into thinking then that the major problem in terms of use in humans arising from resistance arises from the use of antimicrobials in veterinary medicine. And I think that would be a misleading conclusion to reach from those very simple statistics that are used. I think the answer is that both sectors need to promote prudent use and that this One Health approach is the way to do it. So in conclusion, antimicrobial resistance remains a high priority. We apply the One Health approach. We are making on the veterinary side now rapid progress in terms of the monitoring of the use so that we can base policy on figures. That there is a lot of action going on to promote prudent use, and particularly in the area of antimicrobials that are critical for human use. And we will continue with preparing advice for the European Commission as part of their action plan on antimicrobial resistance. Thank you.